what we're going to talk about tonight will be directly applicable to writing for the online world. If you want to write a blog, if you want to write a media release to promote a book, you want to write on someone else's blog to promote your book, everything we're going to talk about tonight will take you in that direction, not a problem. Tom lives in the academic world. The academic world writes differently for the web than I write. I write for the general public. If you're going to write for a specific audience, like let's say a technical audience, you're going to write for your audience. If you're writing for everybody in general, that's what I call the general public. But the academic world is a different animal than what I write for. And as we get about halfway through, I'll mention one or two things that would be more appropriate for the academic world that are not appropriate for what I do. Doesn't make them wrong, doesn't make them bad. They're only different. And all of these niche markets, I call it a market, these niche needs will vary. But whatever you do, you're always going to write it for your audience. Mr. Mouse is going to help me out here. There we go. Kappa is really good. I highly recommend it. I mentioned that earlier. I'm going to be presenting again for my third year. This is also the third group that I presented, the third chapter that I presented to. Words are weapons. That is absolutely true, not an overstatement. Please don't denigrate your skills. Don't say to yourself or say to anybody else, gee, you know, well, I'm kind of maybe a writer. You're not. Your skills set you apart. You are in the minority. If you start using your skills in the political world or in a marketing world, your ability to write is your best asset to help yourself. The top one is a quote that's in my first book. You've all heard, the pen is mightier than the sword. It is. Ever since there's been pens and swords, the pen is on top. Before that, no. You end up on a medieval battlefield with a pen in your hand, you're going to hurt. That's not going to work. The pen being mightier than the sword, people need to be able to read your language. And we're going to tie all this in. Bear with me for a few minutes. This is going to seem like it's going in a strange direction. You must know the issues, and you must understand what you're saying. And what you're saying is to a particular reader. You are literally, you're at the point of what you write doesn't matter. It means nothing. What is read means everything. And what is read literally in the mind of the writer. We're going to talk about communications later on and how you communicate to that particular writer. And it is a particular writer. You could be writing for the Wall Street Journal. Thousands and thousands of people will read your words, but each and every one of those people is going to read it in their head. So you're going to write to be read by a single reader. You're going to maybe write for a demographic or a technical demographic, or perhaps for people who are financial people, but all of your stuff is written by one mind at a time. I mentioned social networking earlier. You have at your disposal the most powerful communications device that's ever existed in all of human history, in all of mankind. What we have today didn't exist 5 years ago, 10 years ago, nothing. 15 or 20, it wasn't even on the radar screen. No one was predicting social media. It is incredibly powerful. It's putting mass media out of business. Newspapers are in trouble. TV, not so much. Radio, maybe not so much. Magazines, I haven't heard how they're doing. They're getting beaten up too. It's all going online. If you're going to write today, if you can get published, you all have the skills to do this. Don't sit there and say, don't say it to me, and certainly don't say it to yourself. Oh, I can't do that. Oh yes, you can do that. You can be published. You want to start out getting published, maybe they're not going to pay you. We all write for free. That's okay. Get the publication, start keeping track of your publications, put them on your website, link back. I don't want to get too far off the track, but when you get published online, you can even copy it, put it on your website, so if that website goes away, you've still got the publishing credit. Social networking, blogs, Facebook, LinkedIn. Everybody should be on LinkedIn. We are all small business people. LinkedIn's the place to be, trust me. It is better than Facebook. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. Nothing against it, but I'm just not a big fan of it. For reasons I'd be glad to tell you later on. I like blogs. This is quite specific. Direct publication of media releases. You can now send a media release to CNN, Wall Street Journal. You can do that by yourself. The days are gone when you and I have to go through an intermediary to get our opinion online, to put it out to the general public. You can do that right now. Journalists are feeling it. Reporters are feeling it. Newspapers are feeling it. Because there was a time, if I was an editor, you send me a media release. If I don't like it, it doesn't get published. I'm a gatekeeper. Guess what? Gatekeepers are gone. Those days are gone. You have the skills, we have the skills to take very full advantage of that. Sell your products, get your point of view put out in the world. Get someone elected or defeat an opponent. I said words are weapons. That's not an overstatement. You start writing to change public opinion. You start writing to help a political candidate. You will find out how powerful your words are real quick, and you will be probably amazed. Rand Paul, he did a filibuster a couple of weeks ago. The Twitterverse lit up. Now, 10 years ago, nobody would have known this guy was doing it. You can literally change public opinion. You can use your skills for reputation control and reputation management. If someone should say bad things about you or negative things about you, you've got the skills to go online and deal with that. Now, we're not going to talk about it tonight, but one or two things not to do. Don't write when you're angry, mad, or hurt. If you want to write that way, go ahead, but don't publish it. Thank you. Don't start a flame war, all the don't stuff. And then you come back in a very reasoned, and you say, here's dunk, 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 and you cut them up. Whew. They get a little shorter, and you cut them. You just keep cutting them, and you just drop them. You're writing for the third person. You're not writing for the complainer. You're not writing for yourself. You're writing for the person who does not know the situation, and you're explaining why you've been unfairly maligned. This fades into customer service. How do you deal with an irate customer? People are watching Facebook all the time for irate customers, and they bend over backwards to make them happy. Really good for that. Little more to the point, you can establish yourself as an expert, which I want all of you to do that. You can do it quite easily. You've got the expertise in your field, whether it's memoirs, historical novel, fiction. You can all write about three things. All the research that you gather makes a very fertile place to get material from. Maybe a place isn't the right word. You can write about how you write, and you can also write about how you do business. Now, all three of us can do that. All of us can write about any one of those three things. And what you do is you make a large body of work. A blog is perfect for this. And you can put all this information out on a blog. My blog has got about, it's a little over 1,000 posts. And if you saw the graph, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. And some days, even if I don't put anything online, I get a lot of response because they're reading who knows what. Something that I wrote who knows when. But people search for this, and my blog has a wide range of material, including cartoons. There's a dynamite cartoon called Weblog, I think. I forget. I apologize for that. Logjam. Google Logjam. It's a bear and a rabbit, and I don't know what else. And there's a hunter. They're really cute. They're really sweet. And my blog has got all sorts of stuff on it relating to social networking, writing content, and a wide range of material that supports all of that.
What is that name again? You just gave us Google
Logjam, L-O-G-J-A-M. When you communicate, this is communication according to Wayne. This is in my first book. When you put the thought that's in your mind in the mind of the reader, you're communicating with the reader. Demands that you know the reader. You know the reader very well. There's a reason why people get paid thousands of dollars to write letters. Copywriters. One copywriter had a job to write for a piano manufacturer, one of the top piano manufacturers in the world. So he goes in and he literally visits the factory, talks to management, talks to the sales. He's down on the factory floor. They're making a piano, and they're putting this big metal support into the piano. And he says, "What's that?" So the man's explaining to him, it supports the piano. He said, and the employee said, in about 50 years, because of all the tension from all the piano strings, the wooden framework will no longer be able to support that, and you'll never be able to tune the piano. You'll be tuning it all the time. But because we put this support in, it will always provide for the piano so that that will never happen. Became the man's lead. Who would not want to buy an item that's being built so that in 50 years, when it would normally wear out, it's going to still be good? These pianos cost thousands of dollars. They last forever. So knowing the product, knowing the reader, and knowing what's important to the reader, to the buyer in this case, because we're all selling something, even if it's ourselves, means everything.